Hey, my friend, and welcome to the Music Mindfulness Podcast with Josh Brill. I am Josh, and this podcast was formerly called the Tuning Into Harmony Podcast. But seeing as I haven't released any episodes in about 4 or 5 years, it felt like a good time to reestablish this with a name and a concept that feels very, very important and is basically where my primary work is today, which is the intersection of music and mindfulness together. So in the Music Mindfulness Podcast and episodes to come, we are going to explore, as the name says, music as a mindfulness practice. So we are going to explore learning music from a mindfulness perspective, playing music as a mindfulness practice, listening to music, relating to music. Many different aspects can be covered. And a big part of it is, and this is a big part of my teaching currently, and the courses that I've developed are based on this concept, which is that music, in addition to being something that we all love and a wonderful, entertaining thing that we humans do, and something that really enriches our lives as listeners and as participants. If we're out at a concert dancing or whatever it is, we know how important music is. In fact, it might be one of the most important things that we humans have if we really think about it. Music enriches our lives to such a degree, it's almost even hard to begin to understand the depth. But I'm sure we all know, and if you're listening to this right now, my assumption is you've had a relationship with music. Songs have touched you, concerts have touched you, artists have touched you. Perhaps you play music and you've had the experience of learning and growing as a musician, or playing an instrument, or jamming with friends, or playing in front of a campfire. Music enriches our lives so deeply. And it's such a beautiful approach to music to look at it from the mindfulness perspective. I have been playing music for about 34 years at this point. I'm just about to turn 42 next month in February, and I began playing guitar when I was 8. And it's been quite a journey, let's just say that, or many journeys. But my current focus is, as I mentioned before, teaching about music as mindfulness. And it works so well. And throughout the further episodes, we're really going to explore all of these different concepts and how to apply them to your life. And really, my hope and my intention, my aim for this podcast is that it's something that is enriching, something that's helpful, something that's useful for you. So in our episodes together, I'll teach and share about different concepts of music mindfulness. We will have interviews with various people exploring music and mindfulness together. I'll include some music for you to listen to that will help you. I as a musician, I create music intentionally and through my studies and my practices that help engage the meditative state. And where I am today, and today happens to be January 4th of 2022, where I am today is I feel committed to helping bring this into the world. We really need this. If we think of ourselves and our lives as music, as a musical instrument, as a musician, but let's actually begin with it as a musical instrument. One of the most important things, if not the most important thing of a musical instrument, is that it's in tune. An out-of-tune instrument creates challenges. An out-of-tune instrument playing with an in-tune instrument creates dissonance, and ultimately we're looking for harmony, whatever that might mean for you. So if we approach our life and our self and our body and our mind and our emotional state from the metaphor, from the frame of a musical instrument, it brings up the question, are we in tune? Are we feeling flat, depressed, or lethargic? Are we feeling sharp, tense, and anxious? Or are we in that sweet spot where things just flow? And we can explore our mind like that, our body, our feelings. So music mindfulness can be looked at as a tuning device, approaching music as a mindfulness practice to tune ourselves and ultimately tuning our attention, because that's our awareness, is another way to say it. Because that's the primary interface between the external world and the inner world, meaning the sound vibrations that exist outside of our body and everything that's going on inside of our body, our cells and our thoughts and our feelings and all of that type of things. So mindfulness, music mindfulness is really bridging the inner world and the outer world together in a symbiotic relationship, in a harmonious relationship. So in this podcast, not today, because today I just wanted to chime in and basically mark the new beginning of this podcast. But in the future episodes, we are going to explore all of this. How does rhythm affect our life? How does frequency affect our life? How can we approach learning various instruments as a mindfulness practice? I have personally a couple courses developed, something called the Yoga of Guitar, something called the Yoga of Ukulele. Both of those are online courses. And I also offer group courses that are live, that meet live, something called Ukulele Mindfulness and something called Guitar Mindfulness. And I actually have some other ones coming up. So those are hands-on, tactile, experiential approaches to music mindfulness using different instruments. And we'll talk about that in these further episodes, future episodes. So for today, I just wanted to quickly chime in, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, and just establish this new beginning of the Music Mindfulness Podcast. So I look forward to sharing a lot with you moving forward. And before I wrap up today, it would be good just to explore a very, very simple practice with music and mindfulness. And, mindfulness is a term that we hear a lot these days. And, for good reason. We need it. We need to incorporate mindfulness in our lives. It makes our life better if we are more present and aware with ourselves, with our circumstances, with our actions, with our relationships, with everything we do. The more aware we are, the better the experience becomes. Just if you think about it, did you ever sit down for dinner and before you know it, you look at the plate and it's empty? And where did all that food go? So when, that's an example of not necessarily being mindful with our experience. And then before we know it, it's over. And, what happened? Versus really enjoying and savoring and having an experience with your meal in this example. It enriches the quality of the experience. So why not enrich the quality of the experience of your life and your relationships? And why not use music to do it? Because music is so beautiful anyways. So when I talk about mindfulness, and we'll unpack this in future episodes, but just for the time being, mindfulness is a relationship and awareness to our experience. The instrument of our awareness is our attention. And I'm sure, as you notice, attention is in short supply these days. ADHD, ADD, these terms are thrown around a lot. But I think experientially, a lot of us can relate to a difficulty with having a sustained and engaged attention. When we're overwhelmed, it's hard to maintain attention and focus And I think a lot of us are overwhelmed these days, even if we don't even realize it. It's been a hard, challenging time to be a human with so much coming at us. So mindfulness is connecting in with our attention, our awareness, and using music as the bridge for that. So here's a quick, practice that you can do, and it's so simple. But it's something that I think we may have, many of us maybe have lost connection to, which is actually listening. Now, you're listening right now. Perhaps you're doing other things. I know I do other things when I listen to podcasts. So maybe you're washing the dishes or driving or taking a walk or, whatever it is. But you are listening, and hopefully you are hearing these words and receiving them, and perhaps even enjoying the podcast so far. But listening is one of the forms of our attention, our listening attention, our auditory attention. And in our world, we spend a lot of time, a lot of our attention in visual attention. How many hours of the day are we looking at screens and absorbing things through our eyes and that visual attention? And if we're listening to music while receiving a lot of information with our eyes, we're not really absorbing as much of the sound. We're not really absorbing the experience as much. Similarly, eating while watching something, which, hey, I do all the time. But we're not really absorbing the food, although it could be a nice experience sometimes. There's no judgment about it. Anyway, the point being that when we actually train our attention to stay in a place of listening, we're going to have a deeper relationship with the sound or whatever that we are listening to. It's somewhat recent that music has moved beyond just the auditory experience and become a visual experience as well, probably with the advent of MTV and music videos. But before that, and it's before my time. I grew up in the 80s, so I grew up with music videos. But before that, my assumption is, my sense is, and at least judging by watching older movies or movies that represent pre-music video time, that people sat and listened to music, just listened to music. Maybe looking at a vinyl, at the album cover while listening, but really listening. And I don't know how much we do that these days, that we really, really listen. So this first practice, meditation that I would recommend, is so simple in concept, yet I really encourage you to give it a shot and see what happens. And it's simply to actually listen to a song. Without doing anything else. So what I recommend, and I have some of my own music that I can offer. You can find that on Spotify under Josh Brill as an artist. There's music that I've created specifically for meditation and yoga and relaxation. But you really can do this with anything. I would recommend you don't listen to anything too intense, whatever that means for you, although you could if you feel called. But we don't want to overstimulate our senses. So something that is somewhat less intense, whatever that means for you. Maybe it's a song you love. Maybe it's something completely new that you've never heard of. But here's what you do. You set aside the time to actually receive the sound. So there's a little bit of preparation. One, of course, would be choosing what you're going to listen to. I highly recommend that you use headphones. The best quality headphones you have, if you just have the earbuds or whatever, that's fine as well. But there's something about headphones that helps us really tune into the sound, of course, because it's a direct input into our ears. So picking the song, putting on your headphones, either sitting up straight in a meditative position, that could be on a chair, that could be on a floor, laying down, feel free to lay down. There's no rules to this, but just be comfortable. Why I recommend sitting up if possible is it allows for our attention to stay a little bit more alert. When we're lying down, it can be easy to possibly drift off into sleep, or our thoughts can wander. But of course, do whatever you need to do. But what you're going to do is you're going, in whatever position you're at, you're going to close your eyes and just begin to bring your awareness inside really, really simply by following your breath. So before you even play the music, you're just observing the inhale as you're breathing in and the exhale as you're breathing out. So you just want to place your attention simply on the breath, simply on the inhale and the exhale. And you want to follow the full breath in with your attention. So as you're breathing in, you're aware of the full arc of that breath. And then as you exhale, you're aware of the release of the breath. And just do a few rounds of that until you begin to notice a sense of settling. It's easy to be overstimulated these days, so it takes a little time to settle. And when you feel settled, play the song. And as you listen to the song, just do your best to stay primarily in your auditory attention. How deeply can you listen to the song? With your eyes closed, it really helps to keep your eyes closed. Of course, turning off any dings from your phone or the computer, hopefully undisturbed by anybody in your house, and really take the song to absorb as deeply as you can. And I think you might be surprised as to what happens. And after you're done, just after the song is over, just sit for a few minutes and just be with the silence after. Be with yourself, be with the connection. And I think you might find that no matter what the music is, by taking that time to actually deeply listen to even just one song, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, depending on the song, that you'll feel more connected to your inner self. Perhaps you'll feel a little bit more internal. That doesn't mean closed off internal. It just means centered inside. Because our world is so demanding from the external, where there's so many things in the external that we can get outside of ourselves or disconnected. So by taking the time to deeply listen, perhaps you might feel yourself more connected afterwards. And I'd recommend you do that a couple days in a row and just see what happens. Just notice there's no judgment either way. There's no way to do this right or wrong. It's just your experience with listening deeply to sound, to music. So give that a shot. Well, my friend, it's been a joy to share just this bit of an intro for further episodes and for this podcast, for this series, this rebrand, this rebirth, this renewal. It truly is an honor and a pleasure to share this with you. I really look forward to sharing more with you. If you feel inclined to listen more, please subscribe. And if there's a like button, you can hit that like button. If there's a review, that always helps. And share with loved ones and friends who you feel might benefit from this. I look forward to sharing more in the very near future. And until then, I hope you enjoy this meditation. And I will look forward to sharing some more time and space with you on the next Music Mindfulness Podcast. So lots of love, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful beginning for the new year. If you're listening to this in January of 2022, if you're in the future, I hope you're enjoying the future, and I hope you're enjoying your moments. And I just hope you savor your moments, and looking forward to exploring more with you. So wishing you all the best, wishing you harmony and love. Namaste. I'll see you next time.